Mr. Hauser here. So if you guys want, if ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, Natalie, would like to start with questions, we'll go first to Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Joey. Now that it's finally here, I guess you mentioned this. You mentioned this the other night that you don't want this to be about you and Sam, but it's obviously going to be a question there. I mean, first, have you figured out if your parents are going to be there, and second of all, have you kind of processed and thought through what it's going to be like to line up on the other side of the court against him?
Yeah, I got some family coming. Virginia is allowing, I think, 4 tickets per person for their team. So my brother's got some tickets for some other guys too. So we got, I think, 8 or 10 friends and family coming. So that'll be good. I don't think we get to see them, but they'll be able to watch the game and see us play. But I mean, I really haven't thought about what it's exactly going to be like. But it's definitely going to be like, it's one of those things that almost doesn't seem real, kind of got everything you want. You got your family watching you. You got, I'm playing against my brother. We're both playing at 2 awesome programs, and it's just kind of crazy how it all worked out after going through a year of transferring and sitting out. So it definitely will be just kind of a moment that I'm looking forward to. And obviously it's a huge game, so it's going to be exciting.
We'll go to Kyle Austin from MLive.
Hey, Joey, first of all, have you ever played against Sam at any level in your basketball career? Have you always been with him?
I don't think I've ever played him. I mean, the only time I would have played against him would have been in like a practice or maybe like a camp, but never in like an official game.
And I'm wondering how do you have to think about kind of how you manage your emotions with this game? I mean, I know some guys can, make too much of a game and it can affect them. I mean, how do you kind of manage your mindset going into this one?
Yeah, just got to stay level-headed, try not to get too amped up for it. And obviously, like I said before, I mean, this is still going to be, scouting reports. There's going to be a game plan you got to follow. It's going to be Michigan State versus Virginia. So just try not to let those emotions really get the best of me and just come out and play basketball like I've been doing the past 4 or 5 games here.
We'll go next to Stephen Brooks from 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Joey. When you and your brother left Marquette, were there discussions about going to the same place? Obviously, you didn't end up together, but was that ever part of the process? And just either way, I mean, as you guys tried to figure out your next moves, what were those conversations like between you and Sam, having both played at the highest level and trying to find your next spot?
Yeah, there definitely was some talk about it. I think right when we first transferred, that was kind of the plan, that we were going to go wherever we were going to end up going together. We took visits together. But at the end of the day, he liked Virginia more and I liked Michigan State more. So neither of us were going to drag each other to the other school. And if you would have asked me where I would want Sam to go at the time, I would have said Virginia. He would have said the same about me. So I think we just both ended up in great spots, and it's really worked out for both of us.
And what about just having somebody like that as you go through that process, just, evaluating options and what you want and out of a fit and everything, having both played at least one season of D1 ball, what was that like, bouncing the conversations off each other during that time?
Yeah, it was hard because, me and my brother, we never have really serious talks or anything. Everything is kind of just relaxed, having fun and doing whatever. So it was hard to actually sit down and talk about something that's going to impact, the next couple of years of our life. So, it was something that our parents had to help us out with, and just getting us to kind of talk about it and figure out where each guy's at. So, but at the end of the day, like it was the right fit for both of us.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Audrey Dahlgren from WLNS.
Hi, Joey. What has this game and build up to this game been like for your parents? What are the conversations kind of been like as they get ready to see the both of you play against each other?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know how they're feeling about it. I mean, obviously they're just really excited. It's going to be, someone's going to have to lose the game, but I think when the game's over, we're both just going to have a ton of respect. I mean, we have a ton of respect for each program and who we're playing for. So once the game's over, no one's going to be rubbing in each other's face or anything. But I think my family, maybe after a little bit, we'll joke about it and have some bragging rights. But just kind of the buildup has just been, we really didn't know because there had been talks about us and maybe playing Virginia, and then kind of was like, oh, we don't know if we're playing, we don't know if we're doing the Big Ten ACC, and then now it's finally happened. It's something that I don't even know how to explain it because it's never happened before.
And then after your performance the other night, did your brother reach out to you about, the 6 threes that you had, or did you have any conversations about the big night that you had?
We didn't even talk about it, actually. I just remember calling him and telling him, like, yeah, I think we're getting in Tuesday night, and telling him when we're coming here. It's his birthday today, so I wish him happy birthday, but we didn't talk much about my performance. I was ready and moved on to the next opponent. I'm really looking forward to this game. I want to prepare and study as much as I can because this is a game, obviously, I really want to win against my older brother.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We'll go
no problem.
next to Matt Charbonneau from the Detroit News.
Kind of along those lines, Joey, will you talk and text with him right up until tomorrow night like normal, or will you at some point say, I'll talk to you afterward or something like that?
Well, I was hoping I could maybe see him tonight, but just with the whole COVID thing, I don't think it's gonna happen. It's his birthday today, so I called him today, wish him happy birthday, and that might be the last time I'll talk to him before the game. So, yeah.
When it comes on the court, though, too, and Audrey mentioned how well you played the other night. But in terms of matching up with Virginia, how do you think this matchup sets up for you? Is it one of these games you think you're going to be able to get a lot of open looks, or are you going to have to be more effective around the basket? How do you see this matchup setting up for you in particular?
Yeah, they play a slower pace of game, and we play a faster pace of game. So, I think one thing we got to focus on is not limiting our turnovers, because the way they play, you might not get as many possessions as you're usually going to get. Obviously, we want to be able to dictate them in the way that we play, have them play our game. But there's going to be runs in the game, so I think the way they play defense, there will be some open shots. They're really good at protecting the rim, protecting the drive. So hopefully we can get some inside-out looks for some threes and knock down some shots.
Thanks, Joey.
No problem.
We'll go next to Brendan Quinn from The Athletic.
Joey, sorry to harp on it one more time. If I remember correctly, there was a hoop in your driveway right there in Stevens Point?
Yeah.
What would you guess is the all-time record on that court?
I mean, if we're going like recent years, I'm going to say myself. When I was younger, he had the advantage on me. He's 2 years older than me. He was always taller than me. And once we got to high school, I started to kind of get closer and closer. Now I'm a couple inches taller than him. So he's probably got the all-time record. And he won't admit that recently I've been, catching up slowly. He won't admit that, but that's the truth. So big brothers aren't gonna ever admit that.
And what do you think is the biggest difference in your game from your last game at Marquette to today?
I would say, I really tried to limit my turnovers. The first game of the year, I turned the ball over five times, and at Marquette, it was a problem of mine. So I've been trying to focus on that. And last game, I know I had no turnovers, but I think defensively, I struggled the first couple of games of the year. I struggled against Detroit Mercy defensively. And last night, our game 2 nights ago, was the first time I felt like I really did a good job on defense. And I was really kind of dictating and really helping out my teammates on defense rather than just having them help out me. So I'd say defensively, I've gotten a lot better. It's going to take time. And that's probably the biggest change since Marquette.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
No problem.
We have time for a couple more. We'll go first to Gene Wong from the Washington Post.
Yeah, Joey, when the schedule first came out and the ACC Big Ten Challenge, the matchups came out and you found out you're playing Virginia, kind of what was your reaction? And I assume you talked to Sam pretty right immediately. Kind of what was that conversation like when the schedule first came out?
Yeah, we were already kind of anticipating that would be the matchup. But when it was finally finalized, I think I just called him right away and said, like, it's going to happen. So get ready. And obviously there was a little, talking back and forth about, just who's gonna win or whatever and that. So I'm the younger brother, so I always gotta say a little bit more, and he's the older brother. He doesn't say quite as much, but we're just both really excited for it. And like I said before, it's gonna be hard to keep the emotions kind of stay level headed during the game, but that's what you gotta do.
Thank you.
No problem.
Last question will go to Sam Tyler from the Only Colors.
Hey, Joey. Just another question on the matchup itself. So UVA has a ton of length and size and some shooting at the 3, 4, and 5 positions. And you guys have seen that a little bit with Notre Dame, but a little bit smaller teams more recently. How have you guys prepared for those sort of high leverage position battles at the front court?
I think just really just studying, watching film, watching the scouting the team that you're gonna play, knowing a guy's tendencies is a really big thing. Watching a lot of film. We have a coach here that he claims he's the best film watcher that there is, and he's always watching film. He's always studying his opponent, watching what we could do better. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to what we do. Obviously, you respect all your opponents, you respect who you're gonna play, but you're more worried about yourself. You want to worry about what you're going to do in the game that's going to make you guys win the game. So I think that's kind of what our focal point always is during coming into a game.
All right, thanks, Joey. We appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
And we'll be back up shortly with Coach Izzo.
You're muted.
I am muted. That was good. We're going to start with an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll, if you can address the questions through the chat, that would be great. Coach, all you.
I'm sick of meeting like this, media, but that's the way it has to be. So I'll just say this. We had a good day of practice yesterday. It wasn't a long killing day, but we had good film sessions, good practice. This is the end of a big stretch with the 4 games in 8 days and 2 on the road. It's, you know, we've been able to get contributions from a lot of different people, which has really helped us. Our depth has helped us during this stretch. But it doesn't get any better than get a chance to play our 3rd ACC team. And this one that was ranked, you know, 1 in some polls, but 2, 3, 4 by everybody preseason, and deservingly so. They've had good players coming back. They've got their own Hauser that came in. That's their leading scorer. And Tony Bennett, good friend. And Dad's a great friend and a good program and a great coach. So it's obviously a special matchup for probably for Joey and Sam, but probably a difficult matchup for Stephanie and Dave Hauser, because can you imagine seeing your 2 kids playing in 2 top 10 programs, playing against each other, both the leading scorers going in? It'll be hard on Wednesday night, but as I said before, the reunions, the Christmases, Thanksgivings, 4th of Julys for the next 60 years. This will be a memory-making event for them to talk about. As far as Virginia goes, great challenge. This is a really, really good team. They got a 7-1 kid who's awfully good. One that he can score it up to 3. He's a good three-point shooter, but at 7-1, he's big. Huff, their point guard, was an all-ACC player last year. Quick, dynamite, kind of reminds me of Tum Tum a little bit. He's very good. It's a typical Virginia team. They turn the ball over once a week, whether they need to or not. They don't foul very often. Very patient, very solid, and very efficient, getting over 1 point per possession. So I think they're a much better offensive team than they were last year, where they didn't shoot the ball well. They're shooting 38% from the 3 this year. So that's much improved. You know, Hauser averaging 14.5 and 6.5 rebounds. It's a lot like what Joey's doing for us. But Huff gives them the other dynamic center, and 12 points, 7 rebounds. He's had 10 block shots already. The other kid, I'll probably say this wrong, right? Walden Tensia is probably their best shooter. He's shooting over 50% from the 3, but they've got a couple of transfers in that are very good players, and it's just a well put together team. Their transfers sat out last year, so I think they're fitting in even better than some places. And it's going to be a game where we're going to have to take care of the ball so that possessions are going to matter, because there won't be as many possessions. We've had some wars with them over the years, but what happened 4, 5, and 6 years ago has no bearing on tomorrow night's game. And it's exciting. I mean, it's we will have played 3 ACC teams, which isn't really what I'm looking for. But I think the cool part is we play a Notre Dame, a lot of zone, great shooting team. We play a Duke, pressure man-to-man, team that didn't shoot it quite as well. And now we're playing a Virginia team. Duke ran like we do. Virginia slows it up. Very good defensive team and a very efficient team. So all 3 teams, in my mind, are completely different, which should help us in the future. Questions?
First question will go to Audrey Dahlgren from WLNS.
All right. Hi, Tom. Joey was mentioning his emotions. It might be a little challenging for him to keep them in check a little bit come tomorrow night. So how do you help him manage that to make sure that he's focused on the task at hand, isn't worried about one-upping his big brother?
Yeah, I'm going to tell him to love your brother for 364 days and hate him tomorrow. You know, that's probably what I'm going to tell him. But on a serious note, that is going to be an issue for both of them. I mean, they're very close. They probably never really played against each other than pickup games and that. I played on the same high school team. They played on the same college team. Sam's 2 years older than Joey, but it'll be an emotional night. They're letting some fans in, I think 250. So I'm sure Joey's parents will be there. But if you look at it the other way, what a great opportunity for all of them. And that's the way I'm looking at it. And I'm going to just tell him that very few kids get this opportunity in life, especially when you're playing on 2 top 10 teams in a way. And it just doesn't happen. So you can be nervous, you can be overexcited or underexcited, but just play the game. You're a big boy now. So is he. Play the game. You love your brother. I think what I learned that has helped me over the years, especially with rivalry games, respect your opponent. And the difference is with this, and I got a lot of opponents I respect that are good friends of mine. And when the game's over, everything's great. I remember Judd and Gene Katie or Judd and Bobby Knight. I mean, for 2 hours, that was a war. And other than that, it was hugs and kisses. So that's the way I look at it. That's why I'll say it to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hi, Tom. I know you're focused on Virginia. You probably went to bed and woke up thinking about circles. But when you talked to us last Sunday, you must have. When you talked to us, you talked about adding more cardboard cutouts, and now VA is going to have 250 fans. Can you talk about the importance of that mental stimulation of having fans or perceiving to have fans? That seems to be a thing right now.
Well, you could ask those mental preparation statements, and I appreciate that. But you're right on the money, I mean, a little bit away, it's going to be weird. I mean, my kids come into an arena now, and there's nobody there. And the cutouts have been great. Just what we did on the bottom, it just brings some levity to the situation. It also, when you got music, I heard they played one tournament game. I was talking to both Kentucky and Illinois, and in one of the sites, and there was nothing, no music, no nothing. And it just seemed drab, This is going to be weird. We'll go in there, 250 doesn't sound like many, but if they're all down low, I don't know how it'll be. It'll just be a new adjustment. But I think in general, we've got 5 games under our belt. We understand what it's like to go to Duke and not have the Cameron crazies there. We understand what it's like to not have the Izzone at our place. Hopefully that won't play a major factor, but I think all these issues of the mental approach to the game has become more and more important. And I said, when this is all done, I'm going to be a better coach because of it. And I think players will be better prepared to handle other things in life because of it. It's just a little tough to go through at the time.
I get it. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Next in from Matt Charbonneau from the Detroit News.
I know you like playing a lot of different styles, and you say how it'll help you guys in the long run. It usually does. But in the moment right now, the difficulty from going from what you've seen to the way Virginia plays, how tough that is. And I mean, you got some time, but really just one full day of practice. I mean, how tough is that adjustment going to be for these guys to go to this?
I think really tough. And that's why what we're trying to do is show more film. We've showed them film of the 2013, 2014, trying to give them an idea that it's just a different brand of basketball, but it's a very efficient brand. And these kids are very well coached, and we're going to have to be disciplined. And I think that's one thing. Tony has done an unbelievable job there. They're the best defensive team in the country 4 years in a row. They have been probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams turning the ball over 4 or 5 years in a row. Their efficiency offensively has been good 3 out of 4 years. I mean, last year was an uncharacteristic. They couldn't shoot the ball, but now they've got shooters. And so I think in general, we're going to have to be so disciplined, and still trying to play 10 guys or more. Everybody's got to be disciplined, because one screw up affects everything. So our prep is going to be important. And there's been more prep on film and on, as we said, our drill work more than actual scrimmaging, because we're trying to save the legs right now because of these 4 games in 8 days.
We'll go next to Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Tom, I got 2 questions for you. First is nuts and bolts related with this. When you face the pack line defense as much as you've faced them over the years, I guess, how do you continue to pass that on to these guys of what they need to do, and what schematically do you feel like is the biggest advantage this group has with it?
Well, I think, the defense is very solid. It's not an in-your-face defense like Duke's, and it's not a zone defense like Notre Dame's. It's a very solid defense, and we're telling them that ball movement would help the pack line defense because if they can line up on you, put pressure, get their help baseline and sideline and on top, it creates a problem. I mean, we play similar defensively, believe it or not. They just might, kind of push you one way or another. We don't do that as much, but our principles are the same. We try to keep some pressure on the ball, but we're not denying everywhere. The same thing they do. So I think we'll adjust to that. It's execution is going to be the key, and we got to execute. And I think if there's been a weakness right now with our team, I don't think we've been as good offensively as I think we can be. Now, some of that, we played against a couple teams that zoned us the whole time, and we actually played pretty well against the zone. So we haven't gotten to practice. Some of it, our fast break has been pretty good, so we haven't half court. This is going to be a half court game. And, everybody asked me, well, are you going to try to increase the tempo? We are going to try to run. But, when his dad played against us at Wisconsin, I always joked that, Dick Bennett put 5 guys back and then he joined them. So it was always 6 on 5, and Tony's got some of that same in him that he doesn't want to give up layups. He's going to make you earn everything you get. But, I've known Dick Bennett since I was in college. I've known Tony since he was a little kid. And I have the utmost respect for him. I love the way they play. It's different than us. But at the same time, what made our teams good over the years, we could play fast, we could play slow, we could play racehorse, we could play smash mouth. You got to be able to do everything with the different teams you play against.
And secondly, you brought up knowing Dick Bennett in college. I guess, can you kind of bring us back to where you were 45 years ago this week against Marquette?
Hey, we played damn good against Marquette 45 years ago. I remember Al McGuire saying, this Division II team took us down to the wire, and boy, that was a long time ago. I got to remind Garland of that. I didn't realize it was, let's say 25 years ago. Let's make me feel young. But that was a hell of a game. They were ranked 1 or 2 in the country, and we played both them and Minnesota. And we actually gave Marquette a game. Minnesota beat us by 100, but we gave Marquette a game. So I'll remind Garland of that. If he would have made a few more shots, we might have beat him.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll go next to Sam Tyler from the Only Colors.
Hi, Tom. You said that this is a pretty typical Virginia team, and you've been showing matchups or the recent matchups on tape. Do you see any schematic differences, or is it really just personnel differences, like sort of their best shooters being in their bigs and on the wings and not their guards as much?
I think there's some schematic differences. They kind of run their stuff. They run this offense called circles. They kind of run it both ways now. They come off screens on both sides where they used to just kind of wind you up, we used to say. And they were more predictable in 13 and 14 than they are now. They went inside a little bit more in early days than they do now, but it's basically the same setup. It's just that he's added some wrinkles, which good coaches do. And like I said, he's one of the great coaches in this country, and he's done a good job of adding a few things, and they're very good on out of bounds plays. He's looked at different ways he can score baskets, and they have added some different personnel that they got a transfer from Rice at 6'8", really good player. And then of course, Hauser some have him as a preseason player of the year in that league. So, we got our work cut out for us, but what an exciting time to be a Spartan, that we got a chance to go down there and play on the road again and learn how to deal with going on the road and taking care of yourself in a hotel and how you eat, and all those things will help prepare us for the Big Ten. So I'm as I said before, I think Kevin Polga did an unbelievable job with our schedule. And even though sure, I'd rather him at home, I think this is all going to benefit us in the big picture. And ever since after my 3rd or 4th year, I'm more of a big picture guy than a day-to-day guy.
We'll go next to Brendan Quinn from The Athletic.
Tom talked so much this summer about playing through Joey, and we've seen him produce in the post. We've seen him now make threes. Where's that next step of maybe running more stuff through him and trying to use that passing ability that you talked so much about and you were really, really high on?
Well, we have, and we do go through them a little bit more on zones, but one of the things that's helped that and changed it a little bit is we've been playing through Aaron Henry a lot now too. We can use him so we got two guys, and I think you're going to see those two guys in some screen and rolls together, screen and pops together. We're going to try to take advantage of the fact that both of them are playmakers. And yet Rocket's done a very good job of starting to figure out, I was talking to John Calipari today and about how hard it is to make a two guard a point guard and this and that. And I thought one thing he said was good. We're trying to, we're not trying to change everybody as much we are trying to add something to his repertoire. And that's kind of what we're doing with all three of them. I think Joey, we will go through him a little bit more because he's a great passer. He's been in some foul trouble early in the year. He had the knee a little bit. We've had no practice time. So it's coming, but he's still, getting some assists every game. Aaron has actually stepped up in that area, and that's helped us some too. We'll try to do a little better job of that.
We'll go next to Kyle Austin from MLive.
Hey, Tom, I know at times over the weekend you want to see a little bit more defensively out of your big men. Wondering how you've seen them respond to that and what you kind of need from them in this matchup.
Well, this will be a big key because our bigs are, we're going to do a few things, X's and OY, especially on defense with our bigs, where they're going to have to help a little more, do a little bit more because of the flare screening and everything that Virginia does. So we're going to see who handles it cerebrally. There's going to be some adjustments that we make. And I think our bigs, got to do a better job on the closeouts. I thought the second half of the last game, we did a much better job, but Joey's got to do better. Malik, Markey, I think Julius is all capable of doing more. And that'll be a big part of this game, if you ask me, because at times they can be very big, 7'1", 6'11". At times they'll go smaller forward, and then they got the same issues we got, but their guy can put it on the floor pretty good, and we've had some problems with that. So hopefully, we'll do a better job guarding dribble penetration and pick and pops and handle that a little better.
Time for a couple more questions. We'll go first to Larry Leish from the Associated Press.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good, Larry.
You've talked a little bit about looking out for your players' mental health, and I was wondering if I could dig into that a little bit. Have you come up with any solutions or strategies to help these guys with their mental health during the pandemic, and particularly freshmen who, are probably used to seeing their parents and now can't see them after games like they would any other year?
We've done a bunch of things, up in our recruiting lounge. We've kind of made a little arcade room where guys have a place to gather so they get out of their apartments. They just sit in those apartments. We've made some things there. We've tried to get them in for more film sessions and just to talk, spend a little time together. Over Thanksgiving, we had Zoom calls with their families and everything. And, where they could see us eating and we could see them, just to try to bring something to it. And we've got a couple ideas for Christmas. And I think the biggest one is just spending time with them, realizing that sometimes the frustration, 40 years ago, I don't know if I could have done what they're doing in college. They're almost in prison. You couldn't have, I know that, but I couldn't have probably either. And I don't want to make light of it, but it's more difficult than we all think. And you've got a son, you've got kids. It's difficult for everybody's kids. And sometimes as adults, we don't understand that. I don't have time to understand too much of it as a coach because we got another game the next day. But we have my assistants, my trainer. We've tried to do things with family. We've tried to do things with a lot of texting, some Zoom calls with them, just to try to keep them from sitting in an apartment and not doing things. We even moved our study sessions and that. They were on Zoom before, and now we've done some things here in the arena. Again, just to basically get them out of sitting around in an apartment or laying in bed looking at a computer. I think this really helped. I think that's helped our togetherness and our camaraderie also.
We'll go last to Natalie Kerwin from WILX.
Hey, Coach. So after the Western game, you talked about how impressed you were with Rocket Watts. You know, you see him getting better every single day. You know, how fun he is to coach, and you know, he's handling the ball a lot better, getting it around to his teammates. Do you think this game will be a good test for him in this new role at the point? And, you know, will it kind of be the next step for him to keep improving?
You know, I honestly think every day is the next step for him, because after I talked to a few coaches at Villanova and Kentucky, and, you know, that have done similar things, taking guys that were maybe two guards, making them more point guards. You know, you just realize it's an everyday learning experience. And I think sometimes as a coach, you see an athlete like this and you say, he should just be able to do that. And that's so ridiculous. You know, I didn't become a shooter in college. I was a point guard, you know, and you don't get to just do something else and take full advantage. What I've really enjoyed is I think he sees where this is a benefit to us and a benefit to him. And I think that's what's really important when you're trying to tell a guy to do something that maybe isn't second nature. You got to find reasons it benefits him and benefits our team. And that's a good deal. You know, Jed Heath could always tell me a good deal is one that's a good deal for you and good deal for me. And I think sometimes, you know, when you get to be a coach, you get to be a boss, you get into that dictatorship, like do what I say, period. And it doesn't always work that way. And so, you know, when I run into these kind of things, I think I come out of them a better coach. You know, I'm calling Steve Smith, I'm calling Mateen Cleaves and saying, how do you think I can help this kid? You know, you were there, you did this. It's been kind of fun in a way and frustrating at times. But if I look at where he was and where he is, he's made incredible progress. And now for him and Aaron Henry, I think the hardest thing, they're such both great athletes. Aaron was a guy who settled for things and didn't penetrate. Now he's penetrating, not shooting quite as good. Rocket's a guy who, you know, shot it more, and now he's passing it more. And he's yet, I don't want him to forget what he's good at either. So both guys got to figure out how to adjust to maybe helping their overall game, but still doing what they do best. And I'm going to have to do a good job of that. Those guys are, and that'll be done with meetings and film sessions. And here's what you could have done. Here's what you should have done. Oh man, I didn't see that, you know, and it looks a little different on the court than from the bench, you know? So it's been fun because it forces you to communicate. And as Lindsay knows, communication is the biggest thing to helping kids through anything. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. And I complain about it once in a while to you guys. Actually, I'm loving it. It's been really good for me. And I think I can tell it's been good for him because I can tell how he's responded. And we got a long way to go, but we're making great progress. And there'll be some bumps in the road, I promise you. And there'll be days when he's gonna be mad at me, and there'll be days I'm gonna be mad at him. But I think we have a good base, and we understand where we both got to get. And that's a great thing about coaching and players, if you can get to that point.
Coach, thank you for taking the time.
All right, guys. Don't have to travel, so enjoy the popcorn. Some of you that are old enough, have a beer, sit down, and hit your computer tomorrow night. See you guys.
Thanks.